Have you ever noticed how nobody seems to be responsible for anything anymore? It seems that it's always somebody else's fault. You can be by somebody that drops their phone on the floor, and it'd be the floor's fault, or the person standing next to him's energy. Might even just be the phone itself. I don't even know. When did we get to the point where somebody could make a mistake, yet look around a room to find somebody else to blame?
2 rings, 1 vow, they sealed it in.
Hey everyone, welcome to It's All Grady. I'm Denise.
And I'm Marcel.
Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, welcome. If you don't already know, we're a couple that gave up our city life for something different and found ourselves in north central Arkansas on our 25-acre compound. You know, Denise and I were sitting there this morning. We were talking about something, and it was, we just so happened to notice something. We've been seeing it everywhere. It's online, it's around town, it's the people that we know. It seems like responsibility has become rare. It's not that people can't take it, but because they don't want to. And look, we've both been guilty of that same thing in different parts of our lives. But lately it seems like people are allergic to owning their part.
You know, that's why conversation matters. It affects friendships, marriages, everyday interactions that you have with people.
So today we're going to dive into something real. Why responsibility is getting rare and taking responsibility matters more than ever. And why owning your own part will actually make life much lighter. All right, let's get into this. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of these conversations. And if you've ever dealt with this topic, make sure you drop it in the comments below. Let me know. All right, let's get into it. Because I swear, this whole "it's not my fault" culture has gotten out of hand. You can call somebody out gently and respectfully, and suddenly you're the villain. There is no accountability and there is no ownership. It's almost like it's a rare skill that nobody learns anymore. The only time you see it anymore is on the Antique Roadshow. So tell me down in the comments, when's the last time you seen somebody make a mistake and blame everybody else? And the wild thing is, most of these people genuinely believe what they're saying. They're not pretending. They're taught that the moment something goes wrong, the first reaction is to point outward. It's never inward. And it's costing people their jobs, it's costing them relationships, and it ultimately is costing us all our sanity. And all because they can't say 3 simple words. That's on me. If you have ever had to apologize for something you didn't even do just to keep the peace, let me know. You're not alone. All right, well, let's talk about it. Why has taking responsibility become so rare? And why it matters more than ever? And how owning your actions, even those ugly ones, can actually make your whole life a lot lighter. I can tell you for myself, I spent a lot of time battling responsibility in my younger years. And I found through a lot of senseless arguments and battles that were never won, and ultimately in the end they only cost me the lack of my own responsibility. Personal responsibility is one of those characteristics in a person that can make you happy, successful. All of the great things come with somebody who knows how to take personal responsibility. And I had a hard time doing it for a long time, but I don't know, I actually can't even pinpoint the exact time it happened for me, but there was a paradigm shift for me when I finally realized that Every time I try to battle it and make it somebody else's fault, it only ever cost me. So I've practiced time and time again. What does it matter what somebody else's contribution to that situation is? I can only be responsible for my own. So if I take responsibility for me, I'm already a step ahead and I'm moving right along. There ain't no reason to get hung up on that stuff, guys. Own it and move on. So what is the cost of not taking personal responsibility? Well, everything becomes somebody else's fault. Number one, you don't ever learn anything. And we learn a whole lot more in life when we work through our mistakes, those hard times when we mess up. When we blame it on somebody else, we're never going to learn anything from that situation, and it's almost destined to happen again. And how many times can you blame somebody else before that somebody else is like, well, I just don't fit here anymore. I guess I'm going to bounce because I'm always a problem. We don't want that. And I know for me, and likely for you, you don't want that for another person either. And it just starts to become easier, especially as you navigate through life, to start owning your part, because the moment you do that, you can move on from it. You know what I've noticed? Somewheres along the line, people have started treating personal responsibility like it's some sort of a punishment. Like admitting that you're wrong somehow makes you weak or less than. But the truth is, taking personal responsibility is a huge flex. It's one of the strongest things a person can do. I promise you it's not easy. And you already know that. I'm certain of it. If you agree with me, give me a thumbs up. Holler down below. Let me know. It's one of those characters that people can have that make them trustworthy. It's like one of the best ingredients that you can have is personal responsibility and trust and honesty. These things all go together to create a really good situation and a really good person. But to tell the truth, taking personal responsibility is one of the strongest things a person can do. It's the thing that actually makes you trustworthy and reliable. Believe it or not, people want that in their life. But nowadays, people are going to trip over their own feet and bruise their egos. And then ask why you didn't move the ground out of their way. And this is the part of personal responsibility that nobody wants to talk about. Responsibility is not heavy because of the action. It's heavy because of what it says about your character. If you're one of those people that can say, yeah, that's on me, it means that you're willing to take a look at yourself. And a lot of people, they can't handle that. They don't want the truth. They want comfort. Tell me in the comments below, when's the last time you experienced someone that didn't want to take the blame and it disrupted everybody else? Here's a secret tip. Taking responsibility, it doesn't make life harder. It makes life simpler. So what it is when you own your own stuff, you build trust with others. You also build respect, which is something we all desire. And people will know where you stand. It makes it easier for other people to not violate your boundaries. And it also reveals to yourself where you stand. You know, for me, when I can take responsibility for the stuff that I'm responsible for, it really does make my life easier because I don't have to argue a point or process through stuff with somebody else. It just makes the situation much more difficult. It's like being able to take all my garbage out of the situation and getting rid of it. And then all we're left with is what the other person is going through. And that makes it easier for you because you're not already dealing with trying to defend your position. Every situation that you encounter, you have a responsibility in. Even if it's a bad situation or a good situation. All of that is dictated on you in some fashion. And it just becomes much easier, much lighter when you own your half. You can move on. You don't have to carry a grudge. You don't have to bring that with you wherever you go, just trying to defend in your own mind how it was somebody else's fault. Just own it and move on. And when somebody owns it, the reward is you grow. Another thing, the people that notice it, they're going to trust you more. You're going to earn their respect. And you're going to know where you stand, and they're certainly going to know where you stand as well. That's important, especially for people that set boundaries. I spent a lot of my life trying to be perfect because I believed that that's what created my value. Even when I looked shined up and polished on the outside, I was always just one trip, one misstep away from everything crumbling around me. And that is where personal responsibility changed my life. All right, so let me just share a quick personal story with you about one of my I really should start taking personal responsibility situations and the true cost of it. Many years ago, I started a business. It was actually the very first business I started. It was a metal building business. And I was so proud of this because I knew how to put a metal building together. And because I knew how, I started a business. And it was doing okay for somebody that really didn't know what was going on. But where I fell short every single time was when something happened, I blamed somebody else. So the customer and the general contractor and the people that were around me, the other contractors, it was always somebody else's fault. And it ended up costing me because I believed this so desperately that the holes are in the wrong place because you put them there. Well, in the end, the only thing that happened was I was pointing a lot of fingers. One thing that it seemed like everybody else was doing at that time, well, not everybody, but enough of people, they would just own it and move on. They would just fix it and keep on going. Well, not me. I had to fight it, and you had to own it, and then you had to pay me to go fix it, which isn't really bad to get paid to fix mistakes, but when you just own your part, hey, something's wrong here, I need to fix this, then that's what you're focused on. You're not focused then. Once I was able to do that, then my focus changed. I stopped blaming other people. Of course things come out with mistakes. Of course other people have their own responsibility in the situation that I found myself in. But I had zero control over any of that. Zero. The only thing I had control over was whether I took responsibility for my part, which mostly is how I reacted to the situation rather than finding a way to respond and find a solution, which makes it bam. And when you're one of those people, trust me, when I flipped that switch, I started getting more jobs. Now I've since moved on from that business and went on to other things, but it was always a lesson that I learned that it did not matter what somebody else did. Then I just became part of the crybaby problem, right? And we all know situations like that, right? Don't become part of that. Be that person that comes up with the solution. You own your part, and then you can find a solution. You don't have to waste any time trying to justify. Own it and move on, and that is my story. Well, it's one of them. You know, thinking back on that business, what actually cost me the most wasn't the mistakes. It was all of the excuses. Every time I pointed outwards rather than inwards, I lost time, I lost respect, and honestly, I lost myself one piece at a time. You know, when you blame others, you give up the only power that you actually have, which is the power to change. You know what? Taking responsibility out here on our compound hits different for us because we know that nobody is coming to save us. It certainly is a whole lot easier to take responsibility for life when there's nobody else right directly around you to blame. But it is a skill that we all have within us.
Mm-hmm. And it takes practice.
It does. It's not always easy. Sometimes it sucks for somebody to tell you that your feet stink.
You know, I found the most growth in my life when I took responsibility for my actions.
You know, the truth about it is every situation you take responsibility for is an opportunity for you to grow, for me to grow. It's only the ones that we don't take responsibility that we're almost certain we will repeat. Heck no.
I think that's called insanity.
Yeah, that's kind of where I found myself the other day when I didn't realize that I had a 500-gallon septic that I could legitimately use. Here we are today. You know what's interesting is when people think of taking responsibility, oftentimes they think of blame or shame. You know, but the real reward, that's peace. It's peace in your heart, it's peace in your life, it's in your soul, baby.
Heck yeah.
All right. And when you take responsibility for your part, you stop dragging all that old stuff all the way back up into the new day. Every day. It's hunting season. And here's a little secret I'm going to share with you. And then when I tell you, you tell everybody else. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to own your stuff. The moment you do that, you're already moving forward. Most of that stuff doesn't even matter. So when I finally realized that taking personal responsibility brings freedom, not shame, everything in my life started to change. I felt lighter. I definitely felt more grounded. And for the first time, I started being honest with myself. So let me know, guys, if this hit you today, drop it in the comments. Let me know where you're at. We all just trying to get better, one conversation at a time. If you're new here, subscribe. And if you've been around, thank you. What's one moment where owning your life made things better? Your story, it may help somebody else, may even be me.
We truly appreciate you guys for being here.
Heck yeah, we just did laundry. All right, off-grid laundry, baby, on the compound. All right, guys, take care of yourself, take care of the ones you love.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Peace.
Bills piled high, but the faith ran deeper. She was the dreamer, he the believer.